Hello again, everybody. Woohoo! Let's go. Let's go and study some English together. By the way, in case you don't know my name is Philip Kim. Hi, nice to meet you. 근데 우리 처음 만나는 거 아니죠? 그래서 nice to meet you보다는 hi, it's good to see you again. Okay? It's fantastic seeing you again. Today, we're going to do some reading 오랜만에, and so we are, wow, mixing up English and Korean together. Konglish이죠. By the way, 제가 미국에 있을 때는 콩글리시는 뭐냐면 영어랑 한국말을 섞어서 같이 말하는 게 콩글리시였거든요. 그런데 한국에 오니까 그게 콩글리시가 아니고 영어 같이 들리는데 말이 안 되는 한국말로 만든 무슨 영어다. 그게 콩글리시예요. 근데 미국에서는 미국 사람들한테 콩글리시 그러면은 영어랑 한국말을 그냥 섞어서 말하는 거. 오케이. 그래서 for example, 어렸을 때, 제 동생들하고, 여동생들하고 말할 때, 말을 정말 이상하게 했었어요. 왜냐하면, 집에서 영어만 하면 부모님이 안 좋아하셨어요. My parents didn't like it when we just spoke English because they couldn't understand. 왜냐면 부모님은 이해를 못 하시니까. 그래서 우리가 서로 말할 때 한국말로 해야 되는데, 영어랑 섞어서 많이 했었어요. 왜냐하면 한국말로 그 단어를 모르니까. 그런데 또 아는 단어는 또 한국말로 하고. 그래서 예를 들어서 What are you eating? 이거 있잖아요. 동생이 뭐 먹고 있어요. 맛있는 거. 혼자서 Hey, what are you eating? 그런데 이걸 What are you eating? 그러지 않고 What are you 먹어잉? 이랬었어요. 왜냐면 먹어라는 단어는 아니까. What are you 먹어잉? 라고 that is actual Konglish, Korean English mixed up together. 그렇게 참 우리 부모님은 재밌었을 거예요. 지금 생각해 보니까 아이들이 그런 식으로 말을 하니까 very weird. Anyway, today we're going to 오랜만에 do some reading. 오랜만에 영어를 뭐라 그러죠? Okay, for the first time in a long time. Okay, 아주 오랜만에 다시 처음으로 한다는 그런 뜻이죠. For the first time in a long time, we're going to page 86. And do some reading together, okay? Reading and speaking, 3 plants that changed the world. 제가 이걸 처음 봤을 때는요, 3 plants that changed the world. 세상을 바꾼, 세계를 바꾼 3 plants. And I thought, maybe it could be like mangoes. 제가 좋아하는 망고. Mangoes or strawberries, okay? 그런데 아니에요. 딱 보니까 mangoes도 아니고 strawberries도 아니고 근데 가만히 생각해 보니까 mangoes and strawberries are fruit, right? They're types of fruit, not really plants. So anyway, we're going to talk about cotton, tobacco, and sugar cane. All right, we're going to talk about these things and how important they were. 3 plants that changed the world. 밑에 Seeds of Change. Okay, number 1 밑에 read the text below. What is this book about? Seeds of Change라는 책이죠. By Henry Hobhouse. Okay, 그 introduction 한번 같이 읽어보죠. It says this. History books are full of the ways in which the actions of men and women have changed the world. 역사책은 그러죠. 사람의 행동이 세상을 바꿨다. Right? But what about plants? Which plants have changed history? Wow. Okay. Henry Hobhouse, farmer and journalist, discusses this topic in his fascinating and illuminating book, Seeds of Change. Okay. Illuminating means it teaches us something that we didn't know before. 밝혀주는, making something brighter. illuminating이라는 뜻이죠. 예전에는 몰라서 그 subject에 대해서는 좀 어두웠었는데 밝혀주는. He flashes the light. And now we know. Okay, we're going to learn about some of these plants. Okay, let's look at section 2, exercise 2. It says this. All the words below appear in the texts about the plants. Which words do you think go with which plant? Okay? Some go with more than one. 이 go with라는 표현을 쓰는데 go with는 어울리다, 맞다, 짝이 맞다라는 그런 뜻이에요. 잘 어울리다라는 그런 뜻이고요. Okay? Alright. So, colors 얘기할 때 예를 들어서 white goes well with red, red and white. candy cane처럼 크리스마스 생각나죠? green goes well with red, 크리스마스 생각나니까요. orange goes well with black. Okay, Halloween 생각나죠? Orange goes well with black. Go well with 잘 어울리다, 잘 맞다. Okay, we have a list of nouns and a list of verbs. And let's just think about this for a few minutes. Not a few minutes, 그건 너무 길죠? Just for a little while, just a couple of minutes. Which nouns go with which plant? Okay, addict, 중독된 사람, addict. 이거는 tobacco. 그런데 sugar cane도 될 수 있어요, right? 설탕에 중독된 사람, sugar cane, I don't know. Okay, soil, probably all three. Fabric, it means something that you make clothes out of. So cotton, probably. Okay, silk. 는 cotton하고 비교를 할 때 쓸 수 있죠. So maybe cotton. Plantation. Plantation are large farms, huge farms that grow one thing. Okay? So probably cotton, tobacco, sugarcane도 plantation이라고 그러나요? I'm not sure. Okay, we'll check later. We'll check. Okay, slaves. slaves. 노예. 이거는 미국의 옛날에 cotton plantation하고 tobacco plantation에 slaves 많았었어요. Sugar, maybe some slaves in Hawaii, maybe. I'm not sure. Okay. Lung cancer, tobacco, luxury. I don't know. Maybe all three. Okay. Verbs. Chain smoking. Chain smoking means non-stop smoking. 담배를 피는데 안 끝나는 거, 계속 smoking 하는 거. Chain smoking, probably tobacco. Okay. Sugar smoke는 거의 안 하잖아요. Okay. Inhale means to breathe into the lungs. Okay. Inhale means into the lungs, probably tobacco again. Ban means to stop, to make something illegal. Okay. Ban, tobacco, probably. I'm not sure. Sweeten, sugarcane. Refine, maybe sugarcane. Refine means to make something pure and clean. Okay. That's what refine means. Chew. I think people can chew tobacco and probably sugar cane too. 옛날에 그 기억나요. Taking a piece of sugar cane and just chewing on it. And that was very delicious. Harvest means to gather. Gather after the plants are grown, you cut them and then you gather them to harvest. And that's probably, I don't know, cotton, tobacco, sugar cane, maybe all three. Okay. But today, I think we're going to learn some interesting things about these three plants. Okay, so pay attention. 그리고 reading을 같이 하면서 분명히 그거 나올 거예요. Passive tense. 저번에 우리 passive 공부를 했죠. Passive tense가 나올 거니까 pay attention to that as well. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Tobacco, sugar, cotton, there are three things. We're going to read them one at a time and talk about each thing. Okay, we're going to read them and then 그 내용에 대해서 얘기를 같이 할 거예요. We'll talk about each thing and then maybe we'll answer some questions if we have time. Okay, all right, got it? So everybody turn to page 87. In red letters, there's the word tobacco. Okay? tobacco를 같이 한번 쭉 읽어보고 then we'll talk about it together. Okay? listening하고 reading 같이 하죠. Okay? So listen as you read this together. Okay? Ready? Listen carefully. Tobacco. For thousands of years, tobacco was used by the American Indians. In the 16th century, it was brought to Europe. This early tobacco was mixed with soil and was rather dirty. It was chewed or smoked in pipes only by men. Women thought it was smelly and disgusting. Tobacco was first grown commercially in the United States in the 17th century on large plantations and harvested by slaves. In the 18th century, new technology refined tobacco and the first cigarettes were produced. By the 1880s, huge factories were producing cigarettes which were easy to smoke. Chain smoking and inhaling became possible, and by the middle of the 20th century, tobacco addicts, both men and women, were dying of lung cancer in great numbers. Nowadays, cigarette smoking is banned in many public places, especially in the United States. But until 1820, tobacco was the main export of the United States. And still today, the tobacco industry makes over $4.2 billion a year. Okay, we learned a little bit about the history of tobacco, right? In the first part, in the beginning part, it says, for thousands of years, tobacco was used by the American Indians, right? It was brought to Europe in the 16th century, 16세기에 유럽으로 그걸 갖고 가게 되고요. This early tobacco was mixed with soil, 흙하고 같이 섞었대요. Okay? And was rather dirty, 좀 더러웠다 그러죠. 여기서 we see a lot of the passive tense. passive tense가 많이 나오죠. Tobacco was used. 그렇죠? In the 16th century, it was brought. Okay? This early tobacco was mixed. It's all in the passive voice. Okay? It was chewed or smoked in pipes. So they chewed the tobacco, they took it, and then that's how you chew tobacco. That's what they did. 그런데 only men, okay? Only by men, women thought it was smelly and disgusting. 역겨운, disgusting. 이 disgusting이라는 단어도 좀 이렇게 듣기에 좀 disgusting 하죠. 그렇죠? Disgusting. Ooh, that's disgusting. 그렇죠? Okay. And then tobacco was first grown commercially in the United States in the 17th century. So they grew a lot of tobacco and started selling this. Okay? It was grown commercially on large plantations and harvested by slaves. Okay? A lot of slaves worked on tobacco plantations. Okay? And then 쭉 읽다 보면은 they talk about chain smoking and inhaling. It became possible. And by the middle of the 20th century, tobacco addicts, both men and women, were dying of lung cancer in great numbers. Okay? So then people started finding out about the dangers of smoking. And so, the last paragraph 한번 보죠. Nowadays, cigarette smoking is banned. 이것도 passive tense예요. Is banned in many public places, especially in the United States. 그래도 every year 이 United States에서 tobacco industry가 돈을 얼마나 많이 버냐면 $4.2 billion a year. Woo! Okay. My goodness, that's a lot of money. So the tobacco industry, it started in the 17th century. 그 전에 the American Indians, okay, used tobacco, but they didn't really start mass producing it and selling it until about the 17th century. And today, it is a huge business, right? The tobacco industry. Although there are signs that the tobacco use is getting lower and lower in America, still, outside of the United States, tobacco use is growing in many places. Okay, so that's tobacco. Are you ready for sugar? Let's talk a little bit about sugar now. Okay, 여러분, remember, listening 하면서 같이 읽으세요. Okay, read this together as you listen. Move your mouth, make noises, sounds. Okay, with your throat. Make some noises, make some sounds as you read. Okay, listen carefully. Sugar. Sugarcane was grown in India thousands of years ago. In Roman times, it was known in Europe as a great luxury, and it was rare and expensive for many centuries after that. In 1493, Columbus took a sugar plant with him to the West Indies, where it grew so well that huge plantations were started by Europeans and worked on by slaves. The slaves were shipped across the Atlantic from Africa, packed sometimes one on top of the other in chains on a journey that took 6 weeks. Many died. The empty ships then carried the sugar back to Europe. So much money was made that sugar was known as white gold. Sugar is used to sweeten food and make candy, soft drinks, and chocolate. It is addictive but unnecessary. By the 16th century, the English were the greatest sugar eaters in history. Queen Elizabeth I lost all her teeth because she ate so much of it. So, do you like sugar? I like sugar. I think I like sugar a little bit too much. I like white sugar, brown sugar, powdered sugar, any kind of sugar. Good. All right. Okay. 금방 휴대폰 진동 소리 같았죠. Anyway, okay, sugar cane was grown in India thousands of years ago. It's a sugar cane, right? In Roman times, it was known in Europe as a great luxury. 여기서도 passive tense가 많이 나와요, 그렇죠? Sugar cane was grown. 그리고 in Roman times, it was known, okay? Was known in Europe as a great luxury. Okay, so not everybody could eat it. It was luxury. It was a luxury, which means only rich people or people who had a lot of money, only they could eat sugar. Okay. 그런데 in 1493, Columbus took a sugar plant with him to the West Indies. And then 거기서 it grew so well that huge plantations were started. 그 다음에 slaves 얘기가 나오죠. Okay? So the sugar plantations were worked on by slaves. Okay? The slaves were shipped across the Atlantic from Africa, packed sometimes one on top of the other. 이 slavery라는 것에 제가 관심이 많았었어요. Back in elementary school, 아마 초등학교 6학년 때 we had to do a report for school, and I did my report on slavery, American slavery에 대한 리포트를 쓴 적이 있어요. 옛날에 초등학교 6학년 때. 그래서 정말 그때부터 이 slavery라는 게 정말 심했구나, 정말 안 좋았구나, 그런 걸 이제 깨달았었는데요. When I was very, very young. Okay? In fact, I remember it was probably in the 4th grade, 초등학교 4학년 때 학교에서 무슨 speech contest가 있었는데 it was like an impromptu speech kind of thing. 그래서 딱 거기 speech 하러 딱 서 있으면은 질문을 하는데 처음 듣는 질문이에요. 그때 거기서 그 자리에서 바로 answer를 해야 되는데 the question that they asked me, I remember was which person in history do you admire the most? 라고 그랬어요. Okay? 그러니까 역사에서 누구를 존경하냐? Which person, who do you admire the most in history? 그때 바로 생각나는 게 초등학교 4학년 때 딱 이 한국 아이한테 한국 아이가 말하는 게 뭐냐면 The person I admire the most is Martin Luther King Jr. 였어요. Martin Luther King Jr. 4th grade little Korean boy. Anyway, okay, so sugar was very important because it made a lot of money and a lot of people liked it, but at the same time, a lot of slaves died because of sugar, okay? So what they would do is they would take this ship with slaves, right? The slaves would go to the West Indies, and then slaves는 다 내려요. And then they would load the ship with sugar, and then take the ship over to Europe. Okay. 얼마나 이게 돈을 많이 벌었냐면 they called it white gold라고 그러죠. So much money was made. 이것도 passive예요. So much money was made that sugar was known passive죠. As white gold. Wow. Okay. Sugar is used to sweeten food and make candy, soft drinks, and chocolate. Okay. 다 제가 좋아하는 거예요. It is addictive but unnecessary. 이것도 중독이 된대요. sugar. 아까 우리 처음에 maybe sugar, you can be a sugar addict라고 얘기했었죠. Right? It could be addictive. It is addictive, but unnecessary. By the 16th century, the English were the greatest sugar eaters in history. 그래서 Queen Elizabeth I가 치아를 이를 다 잃었대요. sugar 때문에. Okay? 여기 보시면 Queen Elizabeth I라고 돼 있죠. Okay? 그 I는 1세라는 뜻이에요. 그래서 읽을 때는 I라고 읽지 않고 the first라고 읽죠. Okay? 그래서 Queen Elizabeth I lost all her teeth because she ate so much of it. Wow. Maybe she needed to brush her teeth a little more and she didn't. Okay. So that's tobacco and that's sugar. We see some similarities. 좀 비슷한 점들이 있죠. Okay. 돈을 많이 벌 수 있고 그리고 노예를 썼어요. They used a lot of slaves. Okay. 그런데 보통 slave 생각하면 cotton이 생각이 드는데요. Okay. Cotton. Because 미국에서 옛날에 또 cotton plantation에서 slaves를 썼죠. Okay. Well, let's look at that a little bit. Okay. Everybody go to the third section called cotton. 발음도 cotton이 아니고 cotton이라고 하죠. Cotton. Everybody, are you ready to read with me? Okay. 같이 reading 하세요. listening 하면서 같이 reading 하기. Okay. Ready? Listen carefully. Cotton. Cotton has been grown for thousands of years in places as far apart as Mexico, China, Egypt, and India. American colonists started to grow cotton in the early 1600s. Before 1800, cotton was a great luxury, more expensive than silk because so many workers were needed to pick it. However, a huge increase in the number of slaves in the American South resulted in much greater cotton production and a fall in the price. This and the new technology of the Industrial Revolution made cotton the cheapest fabric in history. By 1820, cotton was making more money for the United States than tobacco and more money worldwide than sugar. Many Southern farmers and plantation owners believed that slave labor was necessary for them to make money growing cotton. However, many Northerners were opposed to slavery, and this conflict became one cause of the American Civil War, one of the bloodiest wars in American history. Okay. Once again, this is a subject that I am very, very interested in. Cotton, the American slave trade, and the Civil War. 제가 역사를 좀 많이 좋아하거든요. 특히 American history를 많이 좋아하는데, 이런 내용들은 분명히 TOEFL이나 또 SAT나 if you want to study in a university abroad, SAT를 봐야 되죠. SAT나 TOEFL에 좀 많이 나오는 내용들이에요. Okay, so this is fairly important stuff. Okay, cotton has been grown for thousands of years. Okay, 이것은 present perfect죠. 그리고 passive이에요. Cotton has been grown for thousands of years in places as far apart as 멕시코에서도 cotton을 grow 했었고요. China, Egypt, India. Okay, so it wasn't just grown in one place. Okay, and then American colonists started to grow cotton in the early 1600s. 미국에서도 1600년대 그때쯤에 in the early 1600s에 그때 started to grow cotton. Before 1800, cotton was a great luxury. Okay, more expensive than silk. 와, 어떻게 cotton이 silk보다 더 비쌌대요. Why? 왜 그렇죠? Because so many workers were needed to pick it. Okay? You have to pick the cotton plant, and when you pick it, you need a lot of workers, right? So that is why it was so expensive, okay? Because so many workers were needed to pick it. However, a huge increase in the number of slaves in the American South resulted in much greater cotton production. 그런데 노예들이 slaves를 많이 데리고 오면서 picking the cotton became much faster. 그래서 the price of the cotton fell and the price of clothing and things made out of cotton fell. Okay? 그리고 this and the new technology of the Industrial Revolution. 뭐 때문에 이 cotton price가 낮춰졌죠? Why did they lower the price of cotton? 더 많이 만들 수 있으니까요, right? And there was a machine. 혹시 아시나요? Do you know what the name of the machine was? It was called the cotton gin. 그렇죠? cotton gin은 cotton하고 seed하고 이걸 separate 하는 그 과정에서 이 머신에다가 넣으면은 머신이 다 했어요. Okay? And so 훨씬 더 빨라졌어요. Making things out of cotton. Okay? And 저 밑에 보면요. By 1820, cotton was making more money for the United States than tobacco and more money worldwide than sugar. We talked about tobacco and sugar and how much money it made, right? tobacco랑 sugar 정말 이런 일을 하면서 돈을 많이 벌었다고 얘기를 했었는데 1820년쯤 되니까 tobacco보다 미국에서 cotton export를 더 많이 했고 그리고 전 세계 sugar보다 made more money. sugar는 white gold라고 불렀었는데 와우, tobacco는 그거보다 더 많은 돈을 벌게 됐대요. Next, many southern farmers and plantation owners believed that slave labor was necessary. 그래서 남북하고 차이가 많이 생겼죠, right? In America. In the South, they had a lot of farms. Okay, you know, American history 조금. South에는 they had a lot of farms, a lot of tobacco, and a lot of cotton plantations. North에는 they had a lot of factories and railroads, machines. Okay? 그래서 North에는 slave labor이 그렇게 필요 없었는데 South에는 slave labor이 좀 많이 필요했었어요. 갈등. Okay? And 벌써 유럽에는 잉글랜드, 프랑스 이런 데는 slavery, 노예 그런 게 다 없어졌는데 미국에만 계속 있었어요. 그런데 North는 유럽하고 좀 비슷해가지고 우리도 이제 slavery 없애자. South는 아직도 no, we need slavery. And there was the Civil War, American Civil War. 그 전쟁은 언제였죠? 1861 to 1865. It was a very, very bloody war. Bloody war는 많은 사람들이 죽었다라는 뜻이죠. It was one of the bloodiest wars. Okay. 오늘 우리 reading 같이 했어요. Okay. And we read using the passive tense, okay, the passive voice를 우리가 좀 많이 봤죠. Okay, we read it together and 그냥 나 혼자 이거 쭉 읽으면 너무 어려웠을 거예요. 그렇죠? 그런데 저랑 같이 읽으니까 조금 it was a little bit easier, right? Okay? But practice reading this by yourself. Okay? 집에서 다시 한번 혼자 이렇게 쭉 읽어 보세요. Okay? 모르는 단어들은 찾아보시고. Okay? And before you 그냥 무조건 모른다 그리고 그냥 사전에서 찾는 것보다 일단 쭉 읽어봐서 I think it means this. 이렇게 컨텍스트 문맥을 봐서 이 뜻일 것 같다라고 일단 먼저 한번 적어보시고 and then 확인을 하는 거예요. 사전은 그냥 확인을 할 때만 사전을 썼으면 좋겠어요. Okay? So try to figure out what the words mean first. Okay? 와, 우리 오랜만에 reading 했는데 재밌어요. reading도. Okay? Reading is fun too. Reading is fun. 제가 미국에 처음 이민 가서 초등학교 2학년 때 우리 reading book의 제목이 Reading is Fun이었는데 자꾸 옛날 생각이 나네요. 갑자기 이렇게 하니까. Alright, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today and please read. Reading is fun and important. 그래서 재미없어도 해야 돼요, 솔직히, right? Okay? Because it's so important for our improvement in English. So, read a lot, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye!